I'm going to be going over 5 ways to improve your Roblox maps quickly with very little work. If you have a map you've already built and you're wondering why it doesn't look as good as other people's maps, or maybe a tutorial you followed, here are some quick ways to add some extra sauce. The best maps start from good assets and good ideas ground up. However, if you have a map which is already created and you want to know how to make it better, this is the video for you. Number 1, lighting. A big issue with a lot of maps I see is people focus on the models but they don't actually fix the lighting to complement the map. So for example, here I have a low poly map and I'm going to go over some of the tips that I personally use to light my maps. Keep in mind this map is a lot older and not as good as my usual ones, but it's one that I didn't use so I can use it for an example. So I like to change the clock time and geographical location just to make, the lighting a little smoother. For a low poly map, I also like shadow softness at 1. Here, environmental diffuse and environmental specular, 2 settings which are very rarely actually used, but I'd recommend changing them around. So I usually keep diffuse at 1 or at a bit, and then I turn specular all the way down. You can see the difference there. I personally think this gives it a more cartoony look. Ambience, I also like to set it as a color. I know some people use orange, some people use blue. I'm personally a fan of the blue ambience, so you can see the difference there. Makes the shadows a little more blue. You can change the color shift for top, so maybe an orange. It's really up to you what you do. I think that looks nice. And ambience, I also make it a little bluer. Atmosphere, I'm going to tone down. So I like a little bit of atmosphere, but not too much. Maybe 2.7. It's important to have a good skybox. You can get these from the toolbox because the skybox will actually change how your atmosphere looks. For example, if you remove the one that I put in custom, it looks like this, right? The atmosphere, you can't even see the atmosphere. So your skybox is very important. Do not overlook that. I don't like sun rays on low poly maps, but it's up to you. And then an essential for any low poly map is a color correction effect. Here's a tip that I like to use. I like to turn down the brightness in the main setting really low, and then color correction brightness I like to turn up. There we go. That's very bright, but of course it doesn't look as good now, so we got to up the saturation. There we go, up the saturation and up the contrast. I think I might reduce the brightness just a little bit. There we go. Now, this is honestly a lot better. Again, if I was to remake this map, I'd do it from ground up. I'd change the color on these hills. I'd change the color of everything. But yeah, that's how I would relight a low poly scene. The second tip for quickly improving your maps is grass. Here I have 3 grass models of different sizes that I've made in Blender. Now, if you know how to use Blender, I'd recommend making your own, making it custom. You just make different sizes of grass, I guess tufts you could call them. However, if you don't know how to use Blender, I'm actually going to be linking these in the description for free. So check the link in the description, get these for free, and you can use them in your own map. Now, how are you going to place the grass? You're not going to do it by hand. That takes way too long. You're going to get Brush Tool, which will also be linked in the description. I'm not affiliated with the people who made Brush Tool, but it's something that I use very regularly. So you get Brush Tool for free, click Start. You're going to want to delete the models which are already in there. Select the 3 grass models that are in the description. Add them into the Brush Tool, and then you can edit some of the settings. So for example, if I just press Activate here, I think that I want my radius, like the actual brush size, to be a little bit less. And I also think I want more grass per use of the brush tool. So if I move the spacing down, that removes how much space has to be between the grass models. I think that's good. I am going to turn on random rotation so it looks less uniform. And I'm not going to scale it, I'm not going to wobble it. And the orientation is just going to be normal. And so the way I like to place grass is in little bursts around the map. You don't want to place it equally. Not only is that really demanding, but it also just doesn't look as good. So you're just going to place grass in little areas like this, and it's just going to add some extra detail to your map. A way I like to know where to place the grass is I actually go down to eye level where the character will be, where the player will be. And I just look. So I think maybe more grass here would look good from the character's perspective. Here, they're not really gonna see back here, so maybe I'll add 1 or 2. Yeah, it's just that's all it really takes to add some nice grass to your place, because the player's gonna be running around at eye level like this, right? They're kind of gonna see the grass here and there, add some detail, but they don't need it all, over the entire map. I would also just like to say quickly that if you're enjoying this video, then to like and subscribe to the channel. This is my first tutorial, but I'm going to be releasing many more. I'm going to try to make videos entertaining and informational. So if you want to improve your Roblox maps, press that subscribe button. The third quick tip is to use textures in your maps. These are 2 texture packs. One of them is from Dev for Hire and the other one is from Flame Dev. I'm going to link both of them in the description. Again, they're free, but I'm not affiliated with the creators behind them. And I'm just going to show you how I add these textures to my game. So the first one I like to do is most maps will have, somewhere for grass. So I like to find a texture which is either grass related or it's just repeatable and will look good on the map. So it's common to use squares. You could use a whole variety of things. I'm just going to look. Okay, I think I like this clover one. I'm going to try that out. So I'm just going to find the texture which is facing upwards. Here it is. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to come over to my base plate here. I'm going to press Ctrl-Shift-V, paste it in, and I'm going to reduce the transparency. Or I guess you increase the number. You want it to be less visible. That's probably a good amount. You can see it just adds a little more detail, makes things look a little nicer. I'm also going to get one for the water that I have over here. Okay, I think I'll use this one for the water. It looks... I think that's what it's supposed to be. So I'm just going to take this texture, get the one facing upwards, and come here and place it on the model. Up the transparency so it's less visible. And I'm also just going to increase the studs per tile, so I'm just going to make it bigger. I might actually double that. 12 for both, make sure you do both. And there you go. Nice water texture. Another thing I like to do is I like to add a texture to my paths. So you're going to want to make sure that your paths are actually unioned. If you don't have union, you just select all your paths, you come up here and you press union. And what this means is the texture will be applied to them all equally. So I'm going to find something that fits like a rocky texture, I guess. I guess this will work. Get the texture which is facing on top. Control V. I'm also going to increase the studs per tile both ways. And I'm going to make it less visible. There we go. That looks good. I'm just going to copy that with the new settings, and I'm going to apply it to here. There we go, and also I'm going to union these, and add it to that. Cool. And also over here. There we go. So, got texture on the water, the grass, and the paths. I think it just adds more detail. If I was using this map and I was actually going to sell it, I'd put more thought into what I was doing, but this is just a demonstration. As you can see on these houses, I've also added texture. I can just show you what that looks like before and after. You can see it just makes it look a bit nicer. Yep, so that's it for tip 3. Alright, another way to enhance your maps is to add particle effects. Here's a Christmas map which I made not that long ago. It's alright, but you could really do more with it. And so if I press Ctrl Z and I move this back, you can see that I've added snow particles and I've added these beam effects on top. You can get particles from the toolbox. Just be careful to make sure there's no viruses in them. And if you want a more in-depth particle tutorial, let me know in the comments, and also subscribe, and I might be able to put that together for you. Another example of how I'd use particles if you just want a recommendation for your map is if you have a grassy or foresty themed map, you can put maybe falling leaves, or you can put wind particles, just different things like that. The fifth and final tip, something you'll probably only hear on this channel, is to use dirt piles. Now, what does that mean? Let me show you. Here's this map I made a while ago. It's not a bad map. I actually think this is pretty decent, one of my best. However, one of the things I've deleted off this is the dirt piles. As you can see, this adds extra texture to the ground. Dirt piles here. Boom, boom. These are just meshes I made in Blender. If you want a more in-depth tutorial on how to make and use these dirt piles, I'd be happy to do that. However, just for now, I'll be providing you with some dirt piles that you can add into your own game. These are the 2 dirt piles which will be linked in the description. They're completely free, and you may think they don't look like much now, but when you put them below the ground like this, it just adds more detail to your map. So I'm going to copy these and bring them over. Of course, for you just insert them into your workspace from the toolbox. And lower them down a bit like this. And add them into your game. Now, I won't lie, they definitely fit other maps better than this one. However, I'm just going to do this for an example of what you can do with dirt piles. I'd recommend also making more complex shapes. I like to put around these mounds and also rocks. And there we go, we've added some dirt piles. If I was going to use this map properly, again, I'd do it with more thought, I'd add more of them. But as you can see, it adds a nice little bit of extra detail. This isn't the style of map I'd usually add them to, but you can. Cool, so that's all for today. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. A lot more Roblox tutorials will be coming to you in the future, and I just want to help you improve your maps. Thanks for watching, everybody.